Okay, so you're trying to, get up to speed on something new as quickly as possible.
Right.
But without, just completely frying your brain with too much information.
Yeah,
That's what we're always trying to do here on the Deep Dive.
absolutely.
And today we are going deep on some pretty fascinating tools that Google has put out there called NotebookLM and NotebookLM Plus. And we're going to try to, give you the lay of the land on these AI collaborators, what
Right.
they are, how they work, and how they could potentially change the way that you work with information.
Exactly. And we've gone through a lot of material for you on this.
Yeah.
Everything from, the official Google stuff to some really interesting expert analysis and trying to just pull out,
Right.
the core ideas here. We want to be able to clearly explain what NotebookLM is, how it works,
Right.
and what the potential benefits are without,
Right.
getting too bogged down in the weeds.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really interesting right off the bat is just how many different types of sources that this thing can handle.
Yeah.
We're talking, Google Docs, Google Slides, PDFs, text files, Markdown, web URLs, just text that you've copied,
Right.
YouTube URLs, and even
Audio files.
audio files. Pretty crazy.
Right.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What is NotebookLM?
Yeah, so at its simplest, NotebookLM is an AI tool that's meant to work alongside you
Okay.
as a thinking partner.
Got it.
You upload your documents to it, and it basically becomes an expert on that material.
Okay.
And the really powerful thing is that it can then answer your questions directly
Right.
from your sources.
Right.
And it shows you exactly where it got that information from
Okay.
with inline citations.
So it's not just making things up
Exactly.
or hallucinating like we hear so much about
Yeah.
with these large language models.
Right. And you're building trust with it because
Right.
you can always go
Yeah.
back and see,
See where it's coming from.
where is it getting this from?
Okay.
Now, it's not just a question and answer system, though.
Okay.
It can also, based on the sources you give it, produce a variety of different outputs. So think about being able to get instant summaries of long documents,
Okay.
briefing docs to quickly catch you up, timelines to visualize, sequences of events,
Okay.
frequently asked questions,
Right.
study guides for learning complex topics,
Makes sense.
and even audio overviews,
Wow.
if you prefer to listen.
Okay, so how do you actually get started using this?
Right.
Is it as simple as just uploading a bunch of documents and letting it rip?
Yeah, it's surprisingly straightforward.
Okay.
The first step is you create what's called a notebook.
Okay.
And think of this as like a dedicated workspace
Got it.
for a specific project.
Okay.
And then over in the left-hand panel, there's this button that says plus add source.
Okay.
And when you click that,
Yeah.
you can select the files that you want to work with. Now, one of the things that makes this really easy
Yeah.
is that it's tightly integrated with Google Drive.
Right. So if you're already using Drive,
Exactly.
that makes things a lot simpler.
So much easier.
Okay, so I grab my files from Drive, I hit upload. What happens next?
All right, so as soon as those sources are in, the main area in the center of the screen will automatically generate a summary
Okay.
of all the documents that you've uploaded.
Tuesday.
It's like instant Cliffs Notes
Got it.
for your entire collection of sources.
Right.
And then right at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a simple chat box.
Okay.
And that's where you can start asking questions
All right. Yeah.
that are directly related to the material you've uploaded.
I like it. Very straightforward.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned it can also create those things like FAQs and timelines.
Right.
Where does that happen? How do you make that work?
So that's where the studio panel comes into play.
Okay.
And this is usually located over on the right side of the interface. And it's basically where you can prompt the AI to generate these different kinds of outputs.
Right.
So you can create, audio overviews if you want to learn on the go.
Okay.
You can compile lists of frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
You can develop study guides
Okay.
to help you, solidify your understanding of the material,
Yeah.
generate timelines to track progress or, historical events.
Okay.
And you can even produce briefing documents to share key information quickly.
Got it.
You can also create just basic notes.
Okay.
And you can even create visual mind maps
Oh, wow.
based on your sources.
So this is already sounding like it could be a huge time saver.
Yeah.
One of the people who seems really excited about this is Tiago Forte.
Yeah.
And he highlighted some of the key features
Yeah.
of NotebookLM
Right.
and just kind of how it works.
Right.
So what are some of the things that he was pointing out?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that's really insightful about Tiago's perspective is just this vision he has for how NotebookLM could really change our workflows.
Right.
He suggests that it has the potential to make, a lot of the traditional tasks associated with note-taking and information management.
Right.
Things like meticulously organizing your notes, painstakingly formatting them, constantly searching through your digital archives.
Yeah, all that stuff that just takes forever.
Yeah, just completely obsolete.
Right.
He sees the power of NotebookLM, especially when you couple that with the fact that it integrates Google's advanced AI models like Gemini to really take over a lot of that cognitive load.
Yeah, that Gemini integration is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, huge.
I also noticed that he mentioned Stephen Johnson being involved.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting given his work on how ideas evolve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Stephen Johnson, known for his really influential work on, the intersection of technology, science, and culture, and especially his focus on tools for thought.
Yeah.
And the concept of a second brain was indeed part of the team that developed NotebookLM.
Why?
And Tiago sees this as perhaps the closest we've come to realizing that vision of a true externalized AI-powered extension of our own thinking capabilities.
Like a real second brain.
Yeah.
Okay, so you organize your information in these notebooks, kind of like project files almost.
Exactly.
Okay.
Each notebook is kind of a dedicated space where all the information that's relevant to a specific project.
Got it.
Whether it's, a research paper you're working on, a presentation, or any other, focused area of inquiry.
Okay.
And the real engine of this, as Tiago points out, is this sources column on the left.
Okay.
And this is where you upload your documents.
Right.
Whether they're from Google Drive, saved as PDFs, or even just text that you've copied and pasted.
Okay.
You can have up to 20 sources within a single notebook. And each of those documents can be quite substantial.
Yeah.
You can go up to 200,000 words.
So we're talking about a lot of information.
Yeah, that's a significant amount of context for the AI to draw upon.
Yeah, for sure. So when I'm asking a question in that little chat, it's looking across all of that stuff.
Precisely.
Okay.
So that chat interface allows you to have this direct conversation with the AI.
Yeah.
But the really important thing is that that conversation is always grounded in the specific set of sources that you've provided.
Right. So it can't just go off and start,
just go rogue.
Making things up.
Yeah, it's constrained by the information that you've given it.
I like it.
Now, and it's not just limited to, factual recall.
Okay.
You can also ask it to synthesize information.
Okay.
You can ask it to generate structured outlines for your own writing.
Okay.
And you can even ask it to adapt its responses to different formats.
Okay.
So maybe you want a summary in the style of a poem.
Interesting.
Maybe you want a narrative explanation.
Right.
Maybe you want, a list of frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
It can do all of that.
So you can kind of tailor the output to your needs.
Exactly.
Now, what happens when, it gives you a really good piece of information or a really insightful response that you want to save later?
So that's where the pin board comes in.
Okay.
You can save those really valuable AI responses there.
Got it.
Essentially pinning them to the top of your screen for easy access and future reference.
Like a little corkboard.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that's really cool is that this is not a static process.
Okay.
So even in the middle of a conversation, if you realize, oh, you know what, I need to bring in another document, or even just, some text that I've copied from another application or an email, you can just add that as a new source.
So it's very dynamic.
Very dynamic. And I think one of the things that Tiago pointed out that's really interesting is that this is designed for the way that we work now, where you can almost just dump your notes in.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend a lot of time meticulously organizing everything up front.
Right.
You can kind of offload a lot of that
Yeah.
organizational burden to the AI.
Because who wants to spend all their time organizing stuff?
Nobody.
Okay.
And a key concept here that he emphasizes is this idea of source-grounded AI.
Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah. So the idea is that the AI's understanding and its responses are always limited to the specific documents that you have provided.
So it's not just pulling from the entire internet.
No.
Okay.
Which gives you a much higher degree of trust
Yeah.
in the information that it's generating.
Especially because we know so much of this stuff on the internet is just garbage.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's your own curated knowledge base.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the features, Let's talk about some actual use cases.
Right.
How does this translate into
practice?
Yeah.
Well, Tiago gives some really great examples of how he's actually using it.
Okay.
So one was for understanding complex text.
Okay.
So imagine you have like a really dense academic paper in PDF format.
Yeah.
You can upload that to NotebookLM.
Okay.
And then you can ask it to summarize the main arguments, explain specific methodologies, clarify complex terminology.
Right.
He gave this really specific example of asking about the role of forgetting in learning.
Okay.
And then even exploring this seemingly counterintuitive concept of the negative value of knowledge.
Negative value of knowledge. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, with every answer, you get those inline citations showing you precisely where in that academic paper that information is located.
Right.
And even displaying the relevant excerpts within the context of the original document.
So you can really see where it's coming from.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another really powerful use case that he demonstrated was for working with meeting notes.
Okay.
So think about those long meeting transcripts that often just get lost or they're really hard to sift through.
Right.
You can upload those as a Google Doc.
Okay.
And then you can ask NotebookLM to identify, the key action items.
Right.
Summarize the main decisions that were made.
Right.
Or even generate a follow-up proposal based on the conversation.
Oh, wow.
And he actually showed a real-world example of this.
Okay.
He had this conversation with someone named Doug.
Okay.
And showed how NotebookLM could quickly, extract the core ideas.
Right.
And even draft a potential workshop proposal and curriculum.
Yeah, okay.
Drawing on his own book.
Got it.
As another source of information.
Yeah, that sounds like it could save a ton of time.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a lot of meetings.
Right.
What about using this for actual writing?
Yes. So he talked about two key aspects of writing. The first was using NotebookLM as an editor.
Okay.
So you could upload a draft of something you've written and ask it for suggestions on how to improve the clarity, strengthen the arguments, or even rewrite specific sections.
Right.
And it can even incorporate insights from other sources that you've uploaded, maybe your notes on effective writing techniques.
Right.
He gave an example of taking an article he'd written about, takeaways from a mastermind group.
Okay.
And asking NotebookLM to rewrite it.
Okay.
And it actually drew on his notes from a book called Write Useful Books to inform those revisions.
Interesting. So it's really tailoring the advice.
Yeah, it's not generic writing advice.
Yeah.
It's really grounded in your own...
Right, in your own knowledge base.
Your own personal knowledge base.
Okay.
The second writing use case that he highlighted was for ideation.
Okay.
So generating new ideas.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Right.
For sparking creativity.
Right.
So you can start with, a collection of your messy, unstructured notes. Or even just a single source, maybe a book on, some niche historical topic.
Yeah.
You can then ask NotebookLM to suggest related concepts, identify connections to other books in your library.
Right.
And he actually used a book called Glut as an example.
Okay.
And then even brainstorm potential article ideas.
Okay.
He walked through this really fascinating example of starting with a book on the history of the index.
Okay.
And then through a series of prompts.
Yeah.
Culminating in a potential title.
Wow.
An outline for an article about the democratization of knowledge, using paleontology as this really specific and unexpected illustration.
Yeah, so going from a single book to a fully formed article idea.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
Okay, now you mentioned NotebookLM Plus earlier.
Right.
What are the key differences between that and the free version?
Yeah, so NotebookLM Plus is essentially the premium tier.
Okay.
It gives you much higher utilization limits. Okay. So you can process, larger volumes of information.
Right.
Generate more outputs.
Right.
It also includes access to exclusive advanced features that aren't available in the free version.
Right.
As well as more robust options for sharing your notebooks with others.
Okay.
And analytics to help you understand how you're actually using the tool.
So if you find yourself really relying on this thing, it sounds like it's probably worth the upgrade.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, now let's get into some of the specifics.
Okay.
We've also looked at some of the official help documentation.
Right.
And I think that can give us some additional insights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into the types of sources that it can handle.
Right.
And maybe some limitations that we should be aware of.
Exactly. So one thing the documentation makes clear is that a source is essentially a static snapshot of the document that you upload. So it's important to understand that NotebookLM doesn't maintain a live connection to your original files.
Got it.
It doesn't make any changes to them.
Right.
When you upload a document,
Yeah.
it creates its own separate copy to work with.
Got it.
So you can rest assured that your original files are going to remain untouched.
So you don't have to worry about it accidentally deleting something.
Exactly.
Corrupting a file or something.
Yeah.
Okay, now what about if I upload a news source and I just want to get a quick sense of what's in it?
Right.
Is there a way to do that?
Yeah. So the source overview feature is designed for exactly that.
Okay.
So as soon as you upload a new document, NotebookLM will automatically generate a concise summary of its key themes.
Got it.
And even suggest some potential questions that you might want to ask the AI about that specific source.
So it's like a quick little abstract.
Yeah, it's like having an instant abstract.
Yeah.
And a set of, guided starting points.
Yeah, I like it.
For your exploration.
Okay, now we've talked about different file types.
Right.
But I'm sure the help documentation gets into more specifics.
Yeah.
Around maybe some size restrictions or anything like that.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, NotebookLM supports a wide range of formats.
Right.
Google Docs, Google Slides, PDFs, plain text files, Markdown files, web URLs, text that you just copy and paste, YouTube video URLs, and local audio files.
Right.
The key constraint that you want to keep in mind is that there's a limit of 500,000 words.
Okay.
Or a maximum file size of 200 millibid.
Got it.
For each uploaded file.
Okay, so if you have a really massive file, you might have to break it up or something.
You might have to, yeah.
Okay, and the integration with Google Drive sounded really smooth.
Yeah.
But are there any kind of nuances that we should be aware of?
Yeah, so while the Google Drive integration is really convenient, the help documentation makes clear that NotebookLM doesn't automatically synchronize with changes that you make to your original Google Docs or slides after they've been imported.
Okay, so it's not a true live link.
Not a true live link.
Okay.
So if you update your original file in Google Drive, you're going to need to manually resync it. Within NotebookLM.
Got it.
And there's this button that says click to sync. That will appear within the source viewer. Now, crucially, you need to have edit access to the original Google Drive file for that syncing to work. And for other types of sources like PDFs or pasted text, if you want to update them, you're going to need to delete the old version and upload the revised one.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not completely automatic.
Right.
But the manual sync option for Drive files seems like a decent workaround.
Yeah.
What about bringing in information from the web and from YouTube?
So for importing from web URLs, it's important to understand that NotebookLM primarily extracts the text content of the web page.
Got it.
So any images, embedded videos, or links to other pages on the site, those aren't going to be imported as separate sources.
Got it.
Additionally, it can't access content behind paywalls.
Right.
Or from websites that are, actively blocking web scraping. When it comes to YouTube URLs, it only supports public videos that have captions available, whether those captions are, user uploaded or automatically generated.
Got it.
And it imports the text transcript of the video.
Got it.
And there might be a slight delay for very recently uploaded videos to become available.
Makes sense.
Videos that don't contain any speech won't be usable as sources. And if a YouTube video is deleted or made private, the corresponding source will be automatically removed from your notebook.
Got it.
After a period of 30 days. Now, there isn't a specific limit on video length. But if the total word count of the captions exceeds 500,000 words, that could be an issue.
That makes sense.
The help documentation also outlines some common reasons why a YouTube import might fail. So things like an invalid video link, the video being flagged as, potentially unsafe, the absence of a readable captions file, or the video being in an unsupported language.
So you need good captions.
You need good captions.
To make that work.
Exactly.
Okay, what about local audio files? That seems like a pretty unique feature.
It is.
Can you talk a bit about how that works?
Yeah, so when you upload a local audio file, NotebookLM will automatically transcribe the audio content during the import process. And then that transcribed text becomes a new source within your notebook. It supports common audio file formats.
Like MP3 and WAV.
Got it.
Similar to YouTube videos without speech. Audio files that don't contain any discernible speech won't be supported. Now, NotebookLM supports transcription in a wide range of languages. The documentation lists, tons of them
Yeah.
from all over the world.
Got it.
But it does note that the success of the transcription can be affected
Okay.
by the audio quality.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So low-quality audio with a lot of background noise
Right.
might lead to less accurate transcriptions.
Okay, so make sure your audio is clean.
Yeah.
All right, now Tiago also mentioned some limitations
Yes.
and potential downsides that
Yeah.
he's encountered
Right.
while using NotebookLM.
Right.
So what are some of the things that he pointed out?
So I think, he was very upfront about the fact that
Yeah.
as a relatively new and still experimental platform,
Yeah.
NotebookLM might have, occasional bugs
Right.
or unexpected behavior,
Yeah, nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect.
especially with this new AI stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
He also pointed out that the user interface,
Yeah.
while generally intuitive,
Right.
is still evolving,
Yeah.
and users might need some time to
Right.
fully grasp, all of its features and
Right.
how they work together.
It's a learning curve.
Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve.
Okay.
One practical limitation that he noted is that there's this current focus
Okay.
on Google Docs and PDFs
Right.
as primary source formats.
Yeah.
And there's a lack of direct, seamless integration
Okay.
with other popular note-taking applications like
Yeah.
Evernote or Notion.
Right.
He did suggest, though, that using a tool like Readwise
Okay.
could potentially serve as an intermediary to bridge that gap
Yeah.
by, exporting notes into Google Drive.
Okay. So there are workarounds.
There are workarounds.
Right.
The limit of 20 sources per notebook is another constraint that he mentioned,
Right.
which might require users working on, really large projects to
Yeah.
think strategically
Right.
about how they're organizing their information
Right.
across multiple notebooks.
Got it.
He also observed some potential challenges when working with documents
Okay.
that are heavily reliant on mathematical equations,
Right.
PDFs with, really messy
Right.
or inconsistent formatting,
Yeah.
and just the difficulty of, pinpointing very specific details
Right.
within exceptionally large source documents.
Yeah. It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Exactly.
Okay.
However, he did emphasize
Yeah.
that given this is, an active area of development,
Right.
a lot of these limitations are likely to be addressed
Okay.
and improved over time.
So it's still early days.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So powerful tool, tons of potential,
Yeah.
but still under development.
Right.
Okay, finally, Tiago shared some of his thoughts on the bigger picture of NotebookLM.
Right.
What was his overall vision
Yeah.
for this kind of technology?
Yeah, so his overall take is actually pretty transformative.
Okay.
He envisions NotebookLM as potentially collapsing these traditionally separate stages
All right.
of the creative and knowledge work process.
Right.
So, the reading and research phase,
Yeah.
the note-taking and synthesis phase, and then the final, writing and creation phase
Right.
into a much more integrated and fluid experience
Oh, yeah.
within a single digital environment.
So bringing it all together.
Bringing it all together. And
Yeah.
this could, eliminate the friction of